All right, thank you so much for having us. Again, my name is Katie Allen. I have the pleasure of working with Captain Charles Moore. I'm sure many of you in the room know who he is. He has inspired a lot of people to get involved in this issue starting over 20 years ago, and we are right over the bridges in Long Beach, so pretty close to this location. So I quickly just wanted to go over a little bit about what our organization does and why I'm here with students today. So we envision a world where plastic pollution is unthinkable. And what that implies is that we need to change culture, right? Not just here in the United States, we're talking about globally around the world, really encouraging people to rethink the way that we produce plastics, consume plastics, discard of plastics. There are many components, as we all know, to this broken system that is causing the crisis. And so we have a small team that works, and our strategy is really to sustain a working knowledge of all of the problem, the solution, and the players involved in order to work to bridge gaps between varying perspectives in hopes of cultivating opportunities for effective collaboration. And then the last component of our strategy that many of us are most passionate about at our organization is how do we work to develop a platform to support the leaders of the next generation. We know we can't just throw them into this cold turkey. They need to have the knowledge, the tools, and the resources to be able to take off where our generation just left off. And so for us, when I came to the organization 7 years ago, I started developing what turned into our POPS program. It's Plastic Ocean Pollution Solutions, and our POPS program has various components. One of them is an international youth summit that we've been hosting for the last 7 years. So we've worked with students from all over the world that have campaigns in their local communities to eliminate waste and really start changing that culture in their specific communities. This summer, we're launching our first POPS Innovation Forum, so it will be for students who have a bit more of a technological approach or perspective to solving this problem. So figuring out how do we engage industry, how do we engage recycling agencies, waste management agencies, in listening to the voice of the next generation, the concerns and the priorities that they have. We also have an experience-ship program where we work directly with college students and throw them right into our world in order to get them to see what it's really like to work at a nonprofit that is working to change one of the world's most challenging problems. What has happened out of this POPS program is that there are students all over the world, and not just through our program, through other programs that many of our colleagues have also launched, but there is this growing movement, a youth-led movement that is naturally and organically happening all over the world. Now, we're not just talking about a handful of those exceptional leaders that are, working at the global or national level. We're talking about thousands of students, and many times these untold stories of their actions, the changes that they're implementing in their own communities across the globe. And so these are just a couple examples on our website. We have a timeline that goes all the way back to 2010, and there's over 200 of these stories of all of these different students working really to enact real change in their communities. And so what we thought would be really special, would be to bring together some of those local students that are working here in Southern California to share their perspective. And I've let them know that, of course, being up here, there's really no right and wrong answers. We're all interested in hearing what they have to say. And for our organization, one of the strongest parts of our mission is to provide that platform for them to have their voices heard, and also to help them prepare themselves as leaders for the next generation. So with that, I'm going to introduce some of my favorite people in the world. The first individual I'd like to bring up would be Jude Mccarthy. So Jude has been with our organization for 6 years now. He's, Jude, where are you? He's a high school student at Poly High School in Long Beach here, and I will let him in a minute tell you a little bit more about some of the work he's done. The next individual is Pia Hirsch. Will you come up to the stage, please? So we've been working together with Pia, again, for about 5 years. She started with us very, very young. I think it was 3rd or 4th grade. And Pia's 14 now, so I'll let her tell you a little bit more in a minute. And then the last individual is Anshel Bhaskar. And Anshel is actually the president of our youth board at our organization. So that's another program that we have where we're encouraging students to really take the leadership into their own hands, and they're surprising us, as you can see recently with some of the attention and the achievements that youth have been making in other areas of the world lately. So with that, we're going to start just a panel to learn a bit more about their perspectives, and yeah. All right. So I thought it would be really a great way to start off learning a bit more about how these students got involved in this issue in the first place. So we all know that it's a depressing issue, it's a complex issue, there's a lot of pieces to how do we go about solving ocean plastic pollution, and so do you mind starting, kind of telling us what sparked your interest and your passion in solving this problem?
Yeah, so my first encounter with plastic ocean pollution was at the POPS Youth Summit, which is held by Algalita, where youth from all over the world come together and we learn and we explore and we talk about projects that we all have, trying to find solutions to this issue and better in our own environments. So it just really struck me that year when I went for the first time, and I just saw youth from all over the world coming together for the same thing, and that just always stayed with me. So that's kind of how I was introduced to it, and I've been involved ever since because it just struck me what a huge problem this is. So it's made an impact on me, and so I've done my best to do my part.
So what got me involved was at my school, there was actually a program called Algalita through Algalita, and in 2nd grade, my sister is older than me, and she was involved with them already. And so I was in 2nd grade, and Katie contacted my sister, and she said, do you want to come see a movie with us? And my sister's like, well, can I bring my little sister? And so I went. And at the movie, I was a little confused. I was a 2nd grader who didn't really know the big terminology, and I sat through the movie watching, and slowly I started to pick up stuff. And I saw beaches that I thought were supposed to be the magical places in the world getting trashed by something called plastic. I didn't really get it at first. I started hearing more things. My sister started working more with Algalita, and I met Katie at the youth summit that I went to when I was in 6th grade. And Katie was the most inspiring person, and I wanted to be exactly like her. And that was what first started me in the problem. I wanted to do something to change the world. I wanted to be involved in the world and do something that would help my future and help kids below me future. So the summit and that movie were the first thing that sparked my interest.
I moved to California from Seattle, Washington in 4th grade, and I was actually pretty shocked about all the trash on the beaches. I didn't have beaches in Seattle, obviously, and when I saw the plastic pollution, it was so obvious in plain sight, but no one was really doing anything about it. I thought to myself, well, I'm a kid, I should do something about this too. Algalita came to my school in 4th grade and taught me about waste, and that's when I was able to make more of a change, and I took that opportunity.
So I don't know how I'm going to get through this without crying, but I'm going to try my hardest. No, it's just, as you can see, I mean, they are so inspiring. And I think for our organization, one of the biggest challenges that we have trying to be that platform for these students is it is really difficult to watch them kind of hit challenges and barriers on their own, because you can't just throw them into the world and expect them to be successful in everything that they do. And so imagine trying to work with passionate youth and watching them have to go through what we all go through all the time, right? Where it's not easy to make these changes. And I'm wondering if that might be a really good transition, is what are some of the challenges that you all have experienced in working to achieve your goals?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that is a roadblock for us is lack of education, because a lot of people don't understand why this is even a problem, and unless people know why they should care, they won't. So people need to be educated and understand what they can do and know why this matters. And plastic is so integrated into our everyday lives. There's straws, cups, bottles, bags. It's everywhere around us, and it's so ingrained in our society that it's hard to make that shift. But that's up to us to inspire others and educate others to make that transition.
For me, I find that it's just that youth is rather underrated. People always think, they'll always think, oh, there's some adult or some teacher, must be a school project that's behind all this thinking. And so when I go to city council, the people, they'll just blow me off. They'll be like, oh yeah, that's nice, kid, thanks. And that nothing will get done about it. And I think that that's one of the major challenges that one has to face when trying to make a change.
So my biggest thing was, like they said, education, as well as city council not believing kids. So I worked with Huntington Beach's city council, and we worked with them, and we asked them, we actually got on the agenda, and we were so far, and then we suddenly got the question, is a teacher asking you to do this? Like, what school project is this? And we were thrown off. We didn't know what to say. We thought we were so excited to be there, and we thought that showed. But then we got that question, and that question stopped us for a second, and we thought about it. Is this really a school project? And it wasn't. It became a thing that we truly believed in. So I think the biggest thing is people not understanding that youth actually have a voice, and we actually believe in what we're saying, and it's not adults trying to feed us information. It's really what we believe.
And it's so important for people to understand that, because it actually can hold our organization and other colleagues back as well, where we truly are working to simply provide that platform. It's not to use kids to push an agenda. And I won't say that all organizations or all groups are taking that approach, but definitely the ones that we work with in our organization, it's about supporting them and what they need from us, and really believing that they probably know better than we do, and it's because they have the ability to see through the fog. Many times, us as adults in the organizations and groups that we work in, we're in the weeds every single day within the complexities, but these students have this unique ability to see change clearly. And it's up to us to also keep them grounded in that way, right? Where maybe there may be idealistic approaches, which are definitely part of the solution, but it is up to adults to help keep them grounded as well and provide that support and the resources. And a similar question, but a bit more of like a broader scope. What do you all think is holding us back? I know many things are holding us back from solving this problem, but if you had to prioritize, like maybe just choose the top one that's really kind of burning in your mind, what would you say is the main thing holding humans back from solving ocean plastic pollution?
Yeah, I would say just how dependent we are on plastic, how much we've come to rely on it because it's the perfect germ barrier and the perfect water barrier, and it's such a useful material, but the negative consequences are not understood. So I think that as a society, we've come to rely on this plastic so heavily because it's done so many great things, but people don't understand how it negatively impacts everything else when you're done using it.
Yeah, as Jude mentioned, I just think that most people just aren't educated enough about the harms that plastic really does on the environment and on us. And I think that if people were better educated about these issues and how it doesn't really benefit us, all that we think it does, then I think that there would be more change.
I think the biggest thing is that people don't know that they can actually help. People don't know that one small thing that they change in their life can make a bigger impact. Something like just getting rid of a plastic straw, just saying no sometimes can help the bigger goal. I think they feel that it's, oh, the activists are the only ones that can fix it. I can't really do anything in my everyday life. But what they need to understand, and kids need to understand, and adults, that they can just do something small, carrying around a reusable water bottle, and it can be for the better of the future. Sorry.
This one I'm really interested in. What has surprised you most about this issue?
The thing that surprised me most is how attached some people are to the products that they are used to. Because I've encountered this myself. You know, I've tried to educate some of my friends or family, and I've tried to tell them why this matters so much, and they just don't quite get it, and they still will continue to use their single-use plastic. And it just kind of strikes me that this demonstrates the need for in-depth education, because people can be so attached to what they use and what they're used to, and it's hard to get people to make that shift.
Yeah, what has surprised you most about this issue?
So the biggest thing that surprised me is once you educate people, their willingness to help you. So I got the opportunity to work with my school's catering company, and initially they were reluctant because they're a business, and they said, well, how does this benefit my business? I'm not earning anything off this. I'm actually losing money spending more on non-plastic items. So they said, how does this benefit me? But once we started talking about how sustainable other items besides plastic are, they started asking me, what can we do? And I was very surprised, because initially they said no, and I'd worked with other businesses and they weren't agreeing with me. But once we started educating, talking about it, working with them, trying to convince them, they actually started asking us what they can do more.
I unfortunately had to face the other side of the spectrum. I was rather shocked by when I would bring the facts and I would say, hey, look, what we're using right now is harmful. And I would bring them different alternatives that they could use and would not be that much more expensive, maybe 3 cents more per container. And they would still say, no, we don't want to use that. We have what we need. Go take what you're doing somewhere else.
No, and that's a big struggle that a lot of our youth do run into, right? And it speaks to adults taking them seriously. You know, there was a separate project that Pia had worked on where they did so much of the work already for city council, and went to them talking about expanded polystyrene ban, and again, same situation. Just, I think we really need to put more faith that our youth know the solution to this issue as well as many others. And I think this would be a good segue to maybe talk a little bit more about some of the work that you all have done. Jude, do you want to start and talk about the video that you did and all of that?
Yeah, so last year I created a short documentary about just to educate people about what the harms of plastic pollution are, where it goes after you use it. I interviewed Katie. I interviewed a plastic artist who uses the trash that he finds in front of his house to create art, to raise awareness. And I won an award for that from C-SPAN. It was an honorable mention in an international competition. So that was really cool. For me, just to be able to create that, to spread awareness and to create that education that I'm always so passionate about, because I feel like people who know why this matters will make a change.
So I've done a couple things with the help of a lot of people. So my first project was with my school, and I worked throughout my middle school years trying to get them to go plastic free. It happened that there were some very passionate people along with me on campus who were supporting me in my dreams. And so I worked with Sapphire, as I said before, and we were actually able to go plastic free, and hopefully it lasts after I graduated. Thank you. And then, So my sister and I my family's from India, my parents are from there, and so we actually travel back every year. And so one of our biggest things is trying to bring the problem not only in the United States, but to international communities. So we worked with India, a school there, and we worked with them and we said, here's the issue. India's littered with trash. You think America's bad? It's actually worse there because they have no formal system of recycling. So we said, we just want to start with your school, something small, and maybe we'll spark someone there to help out. And so we worked with their school and we talked about it, and so they stopped using plastic cups at their school, which was a big thing for them because their schools are very large. And so that was really cool, and it was an amazing opportunity. And then the last one I worked with was the Bahamas Plastic Movement, and Crystal Ambrose, who I absolutely adore. I met her at the Pops Youth Summit, and she was an inspiration. Automatically, I connected to her. She was my favorite person to talk to. And she told me, the biggest thing I need help with is getting more people involved in the Bahamas to understand the problem. So what I did was I went to my school, and I had an amazing support system from Al Galita as well, and they said, here's what you can do. You can do a fundraiser. So I fundraised for the Bahamas Plastic Movement, and they were able to incorporate more students into their programs so that more people were involved.
On more of a local level, I've been trying to get my city of Seal Beach to ban single-use plastics in restaurants and cafes. In the past, I have gone to restaurants and cafes, I've asked them to switch, I've spoken to their managers and owners, I've asked them what materials they used and gave out to their customers, and I've taken what I've found to City Council and offered them new suggestions, and hopefully we'll get a ban, and it has been placed on the agenda, so.
And Anshel, I wanted to ask you, do you want to tell a little bit about the work you're doing with the Pen Pal program for the Youth Summit?
So after the Youth Summit, we were talking something about how students can stay involved. And so with my youth board, which I don't know if they know yet, and with my peer advisors from the Youth Summit, we're going to start working on something called our Pen Pal program. And so we want international students to feel connected to us, to feel that there's someone always back here supporting them, even if they don't feel supported. So we wanted to start something, and Katie, Annika, and someone actually approached us at the summit and said, we want you guys to be more connected with us throughout the year, besides the 3-day summit that we have. So I went straight up to Katie and Annika, I ran up, and I was like, what if we start a Pen Pal program? And I was so excited that they said yes. So now we're working on a Pen Pal program where each student is gonna be assigned to a couple teams, and they're gonna get to work with them. They're gonna share what they're doing, we're gonna have them share what we're doing, and then we can announce it so they feel more connected and always feel that there's someone behind them.
It's going to be so important for us because what we found after 7 years of doing this International Youth Summit, sure, the students were connecting one-on-one. Many of them made these friendships across the globe, but it really was apparent at this summit that it was time to broaden the communication because there is this movement. There is this thousands of students around the world, all like-minded, but I think what's really, really neat about what we're aiming to highlight is they're not all the same. These students, not all of them would call themselves activists. They would not all call themselves scientists. They're all different types of personalities, and in fact, what we wanted to talk about today was something that we did at the summit. So we did a really, really neat workshop where Deanna Cohen, she's with the Plastic Pollution Coalition, one of our partners for the summit, said, hey, it would be really incredible if we did a collective statement. And so we have tried it in the past where we had this huge room of international students and people were raising their hand and throwing things out. And it ended up being a really beautiful document. This was 2 years ago, but it didn't feel like it had the voice of the entire room. Kind of felt like it had the voice of the students that were a bit more extroverted or that maybe were the activists in the room where the other ones were quiet. And so we thought, how can we switch things up and try to get everyone's perspective into this collective document? And so we're talking about 150 kids from all over the world. And what we did was we broke out all of the different parts of the solution. So obviously we need to eliminate some plastics. We need to innovate. We need to mitigate and clean up. We need to redesign. There are all of these different things that we need to focus on. And we asked all of them to basically vote. These were all the different teams that attended. Vote, where they felt they fit into most. And then after that, we worked together the next day, and the different groups selected a different category. And we started to draft something that we called a global call for commitments. And so every single voice in the room of all of the different personalities contributed to this collective statement. And at the end, we had a document that indeed was representative of the youth around the world. And so this is actually the first time we brought it with us, because the Youth Summit was just last month in February. We have it every year that month. And we wanted to share it with you all. You all are the first group that will see what this group came up with. And it definitely proves that they're not only aware of this solution, but they absolutely need our help to get there. And so we're just going to go through. Actually, can I borrow that real quick? I know it's real hard to read, so I'll read the first part, and then we'll have the students do the rest. So with previous generations failing to foresee the prevailing plastic pollution crisis, a global youth movement has emerged with a clear understanding of how to solve the problem. On February 11th, 2018, 150 students from 10 countries came together at Algalita's International Youth Summit to draft a global call for commitments to prevent plastic pollution. The purpose of this project is to inspire people from around the globe to take responsibility for their part of the solution. Every commitment collected through this project will help build a foundation of encouragement and inspire an inspiration for the youth who are inheriting this crisis.
Citizens, we need you to help create an environment where citizens can embrace positive change and be encouraged to refuse single-use plastics. We need you to spread a deep understanding of why this matters and how it affects everyone. Please be sure to engage your youth in every step of the process. Plastic industry and brand owners, we need you to take the responsibility for your poorly designed products by redesigning them to be minimally harmful to our environment, wildlife, and humans in any way. Please connect with the people who are recycling your products to make sure your design works for them. Be transparent with your industry practices, and please do not use eco-friendly claims for products that do not benefit the environment. Governments, we need you to be proactive in phasing out the most harmful single-use plastics. We also need you to help us hold the plastic industry and brand owners accountable when they are lobbying for usage for the poorly designed plastic products.
Recyclers and waste management agencies, we need you to be transparent regarding both the process and practices of individual companies. We need concrete statistical evidence to monitor the effectiveness of your efforts. Businesses, we need you to refrain from distributing and selling single-use plastics. Please allow citizens to use their own reusable alternatives and only offer marine degradable products if reusable alternatives are not an option. In addition, please be responsible for the waste you create by ensuring it's recovered and recycled properly. Nonprofits, we need you to help us sustain the true solutions by providing more training opportunities and resources for emerging youth leaders.
Scientists, we need you to investigate the harms of plastic pollution and test the effectiveness and impact of solutions. We also need to interact with you directly to learn more, so please visit our schools and local communities. Philanthropists, we need you to help us utilize the connections you have in the business world to spread awareness and garner additional support. We also need you to support nonprofit organizations that are sustaining the movement and provide financial support through scholarships, funding events, and legislative initiatives. Youth, we need youth to create a sense of urgency. We need youth to spread awareness through different campaigns and practicing plastic smart habits. We need youth to encourage stakeholders from all sectors of the solution to proactively participate in environmental cleanup and civic action. We need youth to encourage everyone to hold each other accountable for their part of the solution to ensure a better future for ourselves. Our health and the health of our children are at stake.
So we encourage everyone, this is now up on Algolita's website, and instead of making a pledge or a petition, this is literally, you are making a commitment, and you can log on, it's algolita.org/youth call for commitments, and you can select who you are, if you're a citizen, a plastics industry leader. We're going to be sharing this far and wide, and again, the purpose, it's really to use as inspiration, to show the next generation that adults understand, that they know the solution, and that people are willing to commit to their unique part of it. So I do encourage you to log on. It's real quick. You just click who you are, you put your name, and this is kind of the official launch of it. So thank you for being our guinea pigs for that. So I think with that, I know we only have a few minutes left, but we wanted to, one last question, actually, that I always love asking at the end, is I want to know what keeps you guys going. That's what I want to know.
So what keeps me going the most is seeing others working alongside me and knowing that I'm not alone and there are other people who are just as invested in this as I am, because truly this is a global crisis. This is much bigger than much bigger than I knew before I got involved, and it's so important to work to make a change for my generation and for the health of my children and their children, because this won't stop unless something changes now. We have to work today to make a better tomorrow.
There are three things that keep me going. The first thing is that every small step we make is just getting closer to reaching our ultimate goal. My second thing is the youth board and the youth summit. They're the things that I love. They're something that I truly enjoy. I love seeing passion in my peers' faces. The youth board meetings every month are what I look forward to. They're the funnest things in the world. And then the last thing that keeps me going is that we're giving back to the earth that gives us so much. We're cleaning it up for our future generations to see the things that we got to cherish while we were growing up.
I definitely agree with both Jude and Anshel, and I definitely also think that I do this because I love the ocean. I love the environment, but the environment, it can't protect itself in a way that we can. It can't ban polystyrene. It can't protect itself like this, and neither can the future generations. So when city council tells me, okay, that's nice, I have to consider that I have all these other people supporting me, and I have to support what technically can't support itself.
So I just want to thank you guys so much. You all have to know that they are missing school to be here. So thank you guys. You are an inspiration to all of us. It is such an honor to be able to have worked with you all for so long, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for all of us. So thank you for listening.